Welcome to The Beam, where curiosity stirs conversations, taking us a step further into the future we desire. Here we bring you the issues that matter, the voices that challenge, and the insights that inspire. I'm Sunas Nathaniel. What if I told you that there is a detention facility in Nigeria where people are allegedly held without trial, forced into labor and subjected to abuse? Yes, this is not a rumor. This is a report. A new investigation by Amnesty International Nigeria has raised serious questions about a facility in Owerri, known as the Tiger Base. There are allegations of prolonged detention, coercive interrogations, torture, extortion. And even if a fraction of this is true, then this is not just about misconduct. It's about whether the rule of law still holds. Today, we're going to be asking those hard questions. About 2 weeks ago, on this program, we spoke with Omoyele Sowore on the curious case of Nnamdi Eme, a whistleblower arrested after exposing an alleged organ harvesting scheme linked to the police operations in Anambra. Here's what some of you had to say. From Instagram, Blue J Design said, "I have always said this. The problem of Nigeria is the judiciary. A country where police do not respect court orders. What do you do?" And then we go to Onyeze Peru. He wrote still on IG, "They killed my brother 2 years ago at Okuzu, SARS. He was never charged to court, and then he was dead." From Facebook, Nkem Wosu says, "Sometimes the important conversations are the ones that raise tough questions." And then Ahamba Chieka says, "Police brutality is a nightmare in this country. Someone must pay." And from X, Agumbandie1 says, "Thank you for bringing attention to this injustice." And finally, Pomp D. Jude says, "The level of corruption in the Nigerian police is overwhelming." I thank you all for lending your voice to the issues that we continue to raise. Today, we are shifting gears. From reports of accountability, we're joining Mr. Issa Sanusi, a journalist turned human rights advocate who has led campaigns on freedom of expression, corporate accountability, and gender justice. He now leads Amnesty International Nigeria and is driving research, advocacy, and digital human rights campaign. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Yes, let us get now into that conversation because this is another very interesting, serious case.
Yes.
Like you heard, the last one was Amy, who was a whistleblower. Now we're talking about a facility in Owerri, all within the southeastern region. But my first important question will be, your report has been described as damning. And then are you saying that the Nigerian police, as we speak, are operating outside the law?
Definitely. And that is the big point that we made in that report, and which is that the Nigerian police unit called Tiger Base, located in Owerri, Imo State, is operating outside the law, is operating with impunity, and is operating without any basis in the rule of books of rules. What we are saying is that impunity is going on there, and it is going on for so long, and it is going on with so much reckless impunity to the extent that we are calling the attention of everyone to join us in saying that it has to stop, and there must be accountability. It's not about stopping it, there must be accountability as well.
Now, talking about the Tiger Base units and their operations, the question for me then would be, what is the strongest evidence that you guys have regarding this case as we speak? And does it show only just Tiger Base, or is this something that is systemic in Nigeria? Are we saying there's a systemic, foul play somewhere in the system when it comes to operations of the police?
So let me take you back to pre-NSAS days. Before NSAS, we had SAS. SAS also started like Tiger Base. SAS was established to deal with crimes, to deal with robbery, and to deal with other crimes, that are afflicting urban areas and cities. Now, gradually, SAS became a toxic unit of the police. It became a menace. It became a problem. It became an issue that everyone was talking about. They go on killing people in Owerri, in Lagos, in Ogun State, in Abuja, everywhere. So it started from somewhere, and that is how Tiger Base is going. The pattern we are seeing, based on our experience of researching police activities in Nigeria since from 2003, we realized that gradually Tiger Base is transforming into the monster that was SARS. So the pattern is clear. The police will see a problem. For example, they say, okay, Tiger Base was established solely to deal with the menace of kidnapping in Imo State. And gradually, Tiger Base became something else. It started arresting people and holding them in detention unlawfully for political reasons, sometimes family disputes, sometimes just disagreements over a business deal. And these are civil matters that have nothing to do with their remit. They are set up to deal with kidnapping. So why are they going into this thing? And that was how SARS started. We had a situation to the extent that SARS, instead of dealing with crimes, they gradually became a unit of the police that was also intervening in civil matters, settling death. If there is a death issue between me and you, they will intervene and say that, okay, but it has nothing to do with them. So what we realize is that the police in Nigeria has been using this pattern. When they see a problem, they establish this unit, they give it this responsibility, and gradually that unit will become a monster. It will become a problem. It will become a danger to the society, and that is what Tiger Base has become.
Does it become a problem because nobody monitors them afterwards?
Well, I don't think the issue is monitoring. I think the issue is the whole system. Maybe, you know, we have been researching Nigerian police, I have told you, since 2003, 2004, and we have done like 6 reports on the police. What is happening is that Nigerian police is enmeshed in so much corruption and systematic, you know, decay, which enable people to act with lawlessness as much as they like. Therefore, that is where the problem is. I don't think that this is, you know, an issue of one unit or something like that. I think it's an issue that has to do generally with the Nigerian police. You know, after NSAS, the Nigerian government promised that they are going to reform the police itself. They announced some measures. Unfortunately, it didn't materialize. People didn't see that translating into reality. No one expected that just a few years after NSAS, we are now having a very monstrous unit of the police gradually heading the way of NSAS.
Now, tell us, did your findings really establish, you know, that they're saying, hey, there's legal detention of torture and all the illegal, you know, detention, there's torture? Did those findings really get to prove it beyond reasonable doubt that, yes, this is illegal, this is wrong? Is that how you guys did it? Is it a yes or no for you? You guys established that indeed torture is going on, illegal detention is going on?
Well, at Amnesty International, we take evidence very seriously. And our research is always empirical based. We do it with evidence because we don't only look for one evidence. We look for layers and layers and evidence. If like 3 people told us that this is our experience, for us, in our standard, that is not enough. We need a lot of evidence. So when we are doing this research, it took us 2 years to finish this work. It's a very small issue, but it took us 2 years. We have been researching this issue. We have been talking with victims. We have been talking with people who survived Tiger Base, those who were held in Tiger Base. We have been speaking with lawyers. We have been speaking with families of those who died in Tiger Base. We have been speaking with people who were in Tiger Base for more than 2 years. In fact, there was somebody that we spoke with, he spent 800 days in Tiger Base. So we have autopsy reports showing the cause of death for some people. Therefore, what we have is a body of evidence, and we are ready to present all those evidence that we have to the police or to the Nigerian government to help them do their own investigation. And that was why, if you look at our report at the end, we always encourage the government to also do its own investigation, because we are not a court of law. We are only a human rights organization with capacity to carry out deep research, empirically based research with evidence. And when we gather that evidence, we are always willing and we always offer to share with the government, to share with the police, to make sure that we give them all the support, all the assistance, all the evidence they need. In fact, we can even give them much more than that because the evidence we have is overwhelming. We can give them, and we are ready to give them if they are going to carry out appropriate investigation to make sure that all those involved in Tiger Base Owerri, all those officers found to have violated human rights are brought to justice. Not just to transfer them from Imo State to Borno State or from Imo State to Sokoto. No, that is not what we are to, because that's what the police always do. Not to do that. We want to make sure that there is justice. All those who participated on those tortures, extortions of millions of naira from victims, they must be brought to justice. That is the only way.
What is the most disturbing testimony that you encountered within this investigation?
Well, one of the most disturbing one that we discovered was that, some young people, reported about somebody, and that person was arrested. And that person, after that person was arrested and brought to Tiger Base, and that person died in Tiger Base. And later on, the police went and arrested those who reported that guy and also held them in detention and extorted their families for as much as they could. There was a woman we spoke with, she has been held in Tiger Base and she fell ill in detention. And they said that, well, she needs this treatment, and they brought somebody to treat her. And after they, I think it's malaria or something. After they finished the treatment, they then told her family that they have to pay 500,000 naira. For some, maybe probably 30,000 or something. So the police also turned even the sickness of victims into a mechanism for extortion.
Victims in their custody.
Exactly. And there were women who were held in Tiger Base, and that is the most devastating of all. And they were separated from their children. There was no documentation, and some of them up to now, they have not been reunited with their children. There was no accountability. Where are those children?
Are these the same women that they used for forced labor?
Yes, yes. They are constructing maybe an extension. In fact, one woman said that they turned her into a chef. She was cooking food for 200 people every day. And those women were also, maybe they were building an extension or something in the building. And those women were turned into laborers. They spent the whole day carrying stone on their bare heads, and they have been doing that without any rest for the whole week. And no payment, no anything. They were just turned into slaves. A lot of atrocities are happening in Tiger Base. Some people who are held there, maybe because of their political position or political opinion or political alignment, they were held there without any reason whatsoever, just because of the position, their position politically.
Now, let me just quickly button, because we're going to break briefly. But before we get to that break, I want to ask you, are these, rogue officers, or is it a system there, or is it just some rogue officers of the Tiger Base?
I don't think, based on our investigation, I don't think it's some few rogue officers. I think that's the system at Tiger Base. That is the system. So it has become a center of cruelty, center of horror and terror. And that is why, people who go in there and survived are finding it very difficult to adjust to normal life because of the horror, because of the horrifying experience they had there. So it's not something on the margin, it's the general thing happening. And apart from that, we also have the issue of overcrowding in that place. where people sleep. Some people have to be standing, some have to be squatting, some have to stand so that others will sleep, and all the corridors of the detention facility are full of people every day, and they are there. And we also have a situation whereby some courts were used to detain people indefinitely.
All right, you're watching The Beam, a place where the old is reckoned with, the future is interrogated, and power is held to purpose. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I'm in conversation with Mr. Issa Sanusi on the allegations surrounding Tiger Base and what they mean for Nigeria's rule of law. Let's continue this conversation. You said, none of these cases has led to prosecution so far. So what does that say about accountability in Nigeria?
Well, we always say that accountability is one of the biggest issues. People believe that, well, when there is a problem, people have been tortured or they have been extorted, and then the matter will just go away on its own. So there is no accountability. We have pointed out in our report the various recommendations we have given. We have given recommendations to the police. We have given recommendation to the Nigerian government itself. We have given recommendation to the Police Service Commission, which is supposed to be an institution that discipline and manage the performance of the police. We have given recommendations to them, and all these recommendations center around the need to carry out a thorough, effective, independent, and impartial investigation into Tiger Base. All those people who held command of the center, all those who are responsible of detention, of everything in that place, they have to be tried. They have to be put through a trial, and they have to be held to account. Unfortunately, there is no accountability. And as I told you earlier before we started interview, the police has approached us to discuss this, but I don't want to be pessimistic. But we will go and listen to them, and we will provide them with the details. But I am not, personally, I'm not confident that anything will come out.
Is that based on your previous engagement with them?
Yes. Because, I was around when the whole SARS started. When we started receiving complaints about SARS in Kano, SARS in Kaduna, SARS in Imo, SARS in Anambra, SARS in Lagos, SARS in Port Harcourt. It started, like this. And I know that at the end of the day, accountability was not there. When we were investigating SARS in those years, I remember that in 2019 and 2018, there were so many police officers that we have pointed out to have partake in extrajudicial execution and torture. And we told the police that you have to take action on these people. And what happened? They didn't do anything. The next thing they did was to transfer them from southern Nigeria to the extreme end of northern Nigeria. That was their accountability. In their own kind of mentality, that is what accountability should look like. It means no justice for the victim, no justice for the families of the survivor and the victim, and impunity will continue.
So, you've been covering this for years, so I'm sure certain things are not shocking anymore. But one thing I need to ask is, the guys who have been tortured, the victims of Tiger Base, are they willing to come forward?
Yes, they are. They are. In fact, if you look at our report, you realize that we only use illustrations.
Yes.
I can tell you that we have real pictures. We have real pictures.
People with scars.
Exactly. We have voices, we have pictures. It is just that, because of the way Nigeria is, we have to protect these people. We can't put survivors and their families at risk. Because these people are still traumatized. They are still afraid. Even when they survived, they are still afraid of Tiger Base. The bad experience still stays fresh with them. Therefore, they are very, very afraid to even talk about it or to even put out their own picture. But we have evidence to show these scares to show some of the pictures. When you look at them and the bodies of these people, you will cry, because you will never believe that a human being can do such cruelty and wickedness to another human being.
So looking at what you are saying right now, and let's go to the courts, because one of the places where these guys are supposed to end up in are in the courts. But like we were saying, sometimes it takes and it lingers too long.
Exactly.
So where does this leave both the victims and the cause in which you are pushing? Again, at what point does, justice delayed become justice denied?
Well, we always suggest an investigation. And, investigation, according to international standards, it has some, guidelines or parameters that you have to meet, conditions that you have to meet for you to carry out an investigation and say that this is an investigation. The investigation has to be independent. It has to be public, open. You remember there were some sittings about NSAS in Lagos. They were televised. It has to be resourceful. It means it can do forensic examination of evidence. It has adequate protection for those who want to testify. And it has adequate protection for victims to appear without the fear of reprisal after they have given their testimony. And there must be timely release of the report to the public to say, okay, this is what we have found out. These so-so police officers will be charged to court for torture. We have Anti-Torture Act signed in 2017, but it had never been used to punish anybody, and torture is still going on. So police officers who served in Tiger Base from so-so to so-so and commanders of the unit, they will be tried for these allegations based on these testimonies. This is where we should begin from. Unfortunately, I don't think the police and Nigerian government are ready for this kind of accountability.
One of the extra things you guys were talking, and it's really disheartening when you hear something like that. One of the things you guys have been investigating of recent has been the, Nigerian authorities clamping down on people who have been speaking against the U.S. and Israel government when it comes to this war against Iran and all the rest. Where are we on that?
Well, on that we issued a statement, and we said that nobody, no any country, no any leader should be protected from criticism. And people have the right to criticize the leader of any country. And criticizing a country or a government does not mean hatred, because, many Americans criticize Nigeria. They criticize our president. They call him names. But American government will never arrest them for just doing that. And therefore, if at all, an American can criticize Nigeria, can call Nigeria, our president, names, and American government cannot arrest them, why would Nigerian government be arresting people who criticize the president of America? Why? So what we are saying is that Nigeria is a sovereign and independent country. And we believe that there should be no interference by any other country, whether it is US or whatever, should not be interfering in our domestic matters. We are a country.
But America would tell you that they never asked our authorities to arrest those people.
Well, I don't know the background details. I don't know the details behind. But, as a human rights organization, we are focused on protecting the rights of everyone, not only the rights of individuals. Even a nation has a right to its sovereignty, and that is part of human rights. And what we are saying is that people should not be, subjected to that kind of arrest.
Based on what they say.
Based on what they say on social media. Because if at all we are being real and we are being, genuine and telling ourselves the truth, how many people will you arrest if you say that you are going to be looking at what people are posting on Facebook or Twitter? So that thing actually is a very shameful thing, that Nigerians who express their view on a war that is affecting us as well. Because the price of fuel now is 1,500 in my village. It is just within 1 week, the price has doubled from 700 something to 1,500. So it affects me, and there is nobody can tell me that I cannot comment about it. Therefore, what the DSS was doing was terrible, shameful, and unacceptable and unlawful, because they don't have the right to restrict people's opinion, to restrict people's right to criticize anybody. There is no any symbol of power or symbol of authority that cannot be criticized.
All right. We must thank you, Mr. Issa Sanusi, for your insight and candor, and for the work you're doing in advancing the rights and accountability. And I'm hoping that this conversation can spark something that will help the Nigerian people to see justice being met.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. That's the much we can take on the beam today. We'll be leaving you with our top 5 videos of the week. I'm Soonest Nathaniel. And as always, I urge you, stay curious, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep beaming your light where it matters the most. May this great nation continue to rise and flourish. Bye for now.
This week, we begin our countdown with a clip in which Nigerian journalist and businessman Dele Momodu predict that if Atiku contests with Peter Obi or Amechi, then Tinubu will be gone by 2027.
If we have a combination of Atiku, maybe with Peter Obi, maybe with Rotimi Amechi, maybe with any other person that comes from the south, Tinubu will be gone.
In 4th place, Omoyele Sowore speaks on why he cannot join the opposition coalition. Coming 3rd on our list, President Tinubu urges the media not to bombard him alone, urging newsmen to hold local governments and state governments accountable. In 2nd place, actor turned politician Kenneth Okonkwo says Tinubu should have cancelled UK visit, adding that the president is incapable of solving security problems.
It's about telling the world that you prefer to respect the blood of your martyrs to riding on their blood and dancing on their graves in the United Kingdom. That red carpet there is the blood of the martyrs that Tinubu is treading upon. He should have cancelled it.
At the top spot this week, popular skit maker known as Governor Amunike speaks on the threats he has been getting over his political skits.
So it's not something you can just tell me. The worst you could do is put me somewhere I won't speak. That's it, as long as I'm alive. My father spoke the truth till he was gone.
That's it on our countdown today. Join us next week for more.